It is another edition of the Cameron Parker Show podcast, and as always, we are joined by one of the close friends of myself, and obviously one of the close friends of the program, and that is Brooks Benson.
By one of the
How you doing, my man? I mean, it's pretty cool to have you hop on here again, and in this case, we're actually going to be talking about some baseball. Switching gears a little bit from football because obviously the NFL Combine is beginning today for a lot of players. But how are you doing first and foremost, man? I mean, it's great having you on again.
Hey man, it's great being back on. I've been doing good, man. How have you been?
I've been good. Just staying busy. Obviously, it's going to be a podcast weekend, should I say? I did one last night with some of the predominantly orange crew, and then today I'm doing one with you. And then my hope is in the span of a few more hours. I'll try and see if I can knock one out, and then obviously the job I do the majority of the time over at the Lockdown Broncos, being a co-host. So it's going to be it's a very, should I say, on air filled. And now, real quickly, who is this guest appearance that you have on the Cameron Parker Show podcast? It seems like he's a really good friend of yours.
Currently, his name is Chance. He is a 2-year-old border collie greyhound, and he found his ball, and so he's going to be playing with his ball the whole time. It's going to be. He might be able to hear in the background. It's a very annoying sound, but he found it. I tried to hide it from it. It wasn't working.
He's a dog. That's
Yep.
kind of what you expect.
Yep.
But the dogs are dogs. We don't deserve dogs. We I mean, the dogs are the best. I mean, just
He's a
simply
good boy.
put,
So
he is a good boy. Uh, um, One of the first things that I wanted to talk about, with you, Brooks, is obviously there's been a lot of change, and stuff throughout your baseball career,
mhm.
going from Paradise Valley um, to um, to Garden City, and then from Garden City to Kearney, and just and then now obviously finishing up with where you are at now. So there's just been a lot of changes. So what take us through just your baseball journey and what it's been like, really.
Well, yeah. I mean, I played Chaparral High School in Parker, Colorado. Uh, then I went on to play at Paradise Valley Community College down in Phoenix for a semester. Ended up getting cut. Um, then went then went on to play or transferred to Garden City Community College in Garden City, Kansas. That spring semester where I redshirted and then played 2 more years, 2 full years after that at Garden City. Um, did really well, all conference both years. Um, then we ended up winning 45 games my redshirt sophomore year, which was probably the funnest year ever. Um, and then went to University of Nebraska at Kearney for my junior year. We weren't that good. We only won 14 games. I completely sucked. I got cut again. And then this past year, 2017, 2018, played at Southwestern Oklahoma State in Weatherford, Oklahoma, Division II down there. Did all right. Didn't play how I wanted, but still did all right. And then like during the summers, played in like Kentucky and Canada. It was fun. Um, but now I'm up in a facility called Driveline Baseball up in Seattle, or technically in Kent, Washington, which is just right outside of Seattle. Um, and just trying to move on, play professionally.
Yeah. So take us through the whole drive line experience, because I mean, obviously, if you are super connected into baseball, you guys have probably heard of the name Driveline before. But Brooks, for people that don't know about this whole Driveline baseball experience, um, what exactly does it entail? Because it seems like in the stuff that I've seen, it seems like there's a lot of player evaluations. It seems like there is also some pro players that come in and also help with the development of you guys. So I mean, what are some of the things as far as Driveline, and what are the things that they present?
So yeah, so I came up to Driveline because I knew um, Kyle Bodie started off Driveline around like 8 or 10 years ago, um, and like it used to be just pitching, um, and that's like they're like the ones who like put the staple on the weighted balls, throwing weighted balls, the plyo care balls, and um, it used to be just a pitching facility, and then Jason Ochart came along and uh, turned into a hitting facility as well. And now Jason is the Philadelphia Phillies minor league hitting coordinator, as well as still the director of hitting at Driveline. So, and that's only been in 3 years that's happened, and so it's really taken off. But like right now, it's the end of the pro off season, so there's not many pro guys in the gym at the moment. But at the same time, we're still getting work in every day. Um, excuse me. Still getting work in every single day. So it's like from say September, October, all the way through now is the entire pro off season. Depending on where the guys play, if they're independent ball, if they're affiliated ball. Um, but like it's a incredible atmosphere where guys just are there to get better and they push each other to get better. And I really it's hard to describe because there's really nothing else like it in this, but at least from where I've been. Um, I love it. It's I've gotten I've been saying this, but I've gotten better, a lot more better these past 2 months than I have in the past 2 years, which is pretty crazy if you think about it. That's just how much we dive in every single day. We're doing live at bats all the time, and I'm sure if you follow baseball, you've seen the Driveline live at bat videos on YouTube. They're fun. Um, Usually it's us hitters just getting dominated because the pitching is so good up here. Um, yeah, to get to face guys like Trevor Bauer, Carson Fulmer, um, Brandon Bailey. There's so many like great affiliated players up here that can really pitch the living crap out of it. And Bauer is definitely by far the best up here. I mean, for a reason. Uh, his like what they kind of do for the pitchers is they like tunnel their pitches, so like all their arm slot for like their curveball, their fastball, their slider, their changeup is the same, therefore making it look like a fastball at first, and then it'll break off to like a changeup or break away for a slider or whatever. And that's hard for a hitter, and especially here inside trying to hit off these guys. Like we're facing 91 to 99 every week. And like there's no days off, and it's like they throw disgusting stuff. I've had success. Yeah, of course. All those hitters have had. We freaking we can we'll hit around our pitchers. Like we're not scared of them. We'll still hit them around, but it's hard. Like even our pitching trainers are like, I don't know how you hitters do this. It's this is ridiculously hard.
Yeah, which is a huge compliment to you guys.
Yeah.
And so my other question is, do they? So obviously, and this is a weird comparison, but you know how in summer camps they sometimes they break them up and they go to individuals um and there's like individual drills, there's individual you know aspects to where it's a group, it's a positional group, and how does Driveline do that? Because obviously you guys are hitters. Do
Mhm.
they do they separate it by position, or do they just separate, say, this group of, say, hitters, and then they have the pitchers come in with with obviously bullpen sessions, or just throwing sessions, should we say? So how does Driveline handle stuff like that? I mean,
So basically, everything's based off the athlete. So the athlete has to schedule their own cage time, their throwing sessions, their bullpen sessions if they're a pitcher. Um, so like it's usually pitchers because the facility is very small. There's only one cage and like one little turf area where you can throw your plyos and get your mobility work or lifting. Like, and it's really small. So what they do is pitchers go in the morning, and then live at bats start between 12:30 to 2 o'clock. It's in between that range. Like today, it's at 12:30 for live at bats. And then after live at bats is when hitting starts. So hitting usually starts on a weekday, Monday through Friday, either 3 or 4 o'clock, and it runs till 8 or 9 o'clock. And so, and there's usually four. It's usually about four guys per group for an hour for hitting. So you just sign up for your slot. So say, like for me today, I signed up for a 5 o'clock hitting slot. So today, since it's Saturday, that's our last hitting slot of the day. So I'll go from five. I'll hit from 5 to 6, and we'll do it that way. It doesn't really matter if you're like a college gap year guy or a professional guy. Like we just intermix. It doesn't really matter by position or anything. We go in, we hit, and um, I think there's around five of us pro hitters left, and then there's like five gap year college guys. So there's really not many hitters left right now, but that's all right. Um, shoot, what else? What was I was gonna say? Um,
no, you're good. So then, as far as the true evaluation, what exactly are they evaluating? So, like, let's just pinpoint you yourself.
mhm.
What obviously, you've been obviously preaching as far as launch angle and just or swing path and so on and so forth. And maybe should I say the differences between the two, and um, how much are they preaching versus those two aspects, and um, or are there some different areas really that they have also been focusing on?
So so basically every hitter is different. So they what they do is that they assess the hitter. They do a week long assessment at the beat once you get there, and then after the assessment's over, then they go off a plan for that hitter. So say that hitter has, I'll give an example of kind of what Jason Ochart was saying on a podcast a couple weeks ago that I was listening to. Say a hitter is continuously hitting a ball 95 miles an hour off the bat, but like he never hits 100 miles an hour, but it's consistent 95, and like every day his average exit velo is like 92, uh, and just he just finds barrel. But in order to play professional baseball, you have to hit the ball over 100 miles an hour. And so what they would do is they would put him on the bat speed trainer program, so they can get their motor going or build the engine, because you can already square up baseballs really well. It's just let's just start hitting them harder and harder now. And then for like me, I came in. I Sorry. Chance. Enough. Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
Chance. Chance. Hey. Chance. Hold on. Hey, come here. Come here. Hey, come here. Come on. It's fine. Oh my gosh. What's
Dogs.
I know dogs are dogs. Where was I? Oh, so yeah. Like for me, like I already have the engine built. Like I can hit a ball 108 miles an hour. It's just now for me, my trouble was barrel precision and actually like consistently finding barrel. That was my issue. So they would put me on a different program to so I can find consistent barrel, where I can like my average exit velocity is like 94 every session we do. And what by session we do like we'll do our T work. We'll start off with our mobility work, then we do our T work, and like we'll have like four things off the tee that we have to do for our session that day, and then um, right when like so you do the mobility work and your T work before the hour starts. So right when the hour starts, that's when we do our soft toss or front toss, wherever you want to call it, work for say 15 20 minutes, and you do um, four drills as well. And then for about 40-45 minutes, we were on the machine. Right now, we don't. Our machine broke. So we're waiting for a new one to come in. But then after that, we do high velocity machine for about 40-45 minutes. So like maybe one day we'll do 88. Like from a machine, it's like you don't really need to put it on like 90 or like 95 because there's no arm slot for the machine. So it's just balls up and machine go. It's like so we put on like 88, 90 miles an hour. Um so like one day we'll do 88 to 90 mile per hour two seams, or 88 to or 85 mile per hour cutters. Or another day we'll do uh 80 mile per hour high spin rate sliders from the left side, from the right side. So they put the machine on different areas of the mound where the pitcher's release point would be to try to mimic each pitcher. So like a righty or a lefty, or like sometimes we'll go Chris Sale where his release point's way off to the left side or to the right side if you're looking from home plate. So they really like try to challenge you up every single day, no matter what, while still getting your different drills in every single day.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
That is just so amazing.
yeah.
How long has the Driveline program been doing this?
Hitting wise, this is the third or fourth off season for hitting, I think. Um, Pitching, they've been going at it for I think about 10 years.
That
Chance.
that's amazing. And just to think as far as just really strong development, and in just personal conversations with you, I could just sense a lot of excitement when you were talking about it, about the opportunity and the fact that it's actually coming to fruition, and you're seeing a lot of strides.
Hmm.
Um, that's just a testament to the actual program itself at Driveline, because if you look at it and you just think as far as just true development as a player, and you said it. I mean, if that you've learned so much in just the 2 months that you've been up there in Seattle versus the two recent years that you've been in college baseball, and that's not really a slight per se to those other universities or
Hmm.
the colleges, because I mean they have their own way about doing things, and
Right.
and and so and but there's just this way to where it's should we say one-on-one training. I mean, it's just like that one-on-one training to where they are going to work on getting the most out of you in every ample amount of time that they can
Mhm.
get.
Right, and I mean, it's sometimes one-on-one, like, during, like, swing design, that'll be one-on-one, but with it being mostly group work, it's just, like, talking with the other guys, talking with the other pro guys about what they're trying to do, or just us talking crap to one another in a friendly
Yeah.
manner.
Right, right. Oh, yeah, yeah,
And
and that part doesn't leave. I mean, that
no.
team aspect never leaves, yeah.
No, it doesn't. I mean, dude, it's like we're all there to get better. We're all there, like we root for each other. Like we don't like if we like we know we're gonna fail. Like we know our training is designed for us to fail. That's the thing. Like fail more in the off season so you can fail less in season.
Yeah. I just absolutely when you started talking about it, the model beforehand and then you actually going through with it and actually starting to see really strong results. I mean, it's been pretty incredible just to see where you've come to where you are now and just to see the vast improvement of where it is. And so I cannot wait to see where it all ends up. Um, and so with that, there's been some players, like you said, Trevor Bauer, that
Mhm,
has come to Tribe Line, and so that usually goes into Trevor Bauer's not really a free agent, but as we've seen, he's been pretty vocal in the trade market, should we say, and with the
mhm.
Cleveland Indians floating the name around, and so that just boils it into free agency. Um, what what has your initial reaction been? I mean, I because this is now 2 seasons now where MLB free agency is in a cold spell, and it has been super frustrating, either as a fan or I would say as a player,
Mhm.
to see something that used to be one of the most exciting off seasons with the winter meetings, and now there's just a dead period where you now have just signings sprinkled here and there every few weeks or every 5 weeks,
Yeah.
and so now it's just you're getting this really cold period. So what's been your initial thought process as far as this is concerned?
I mean, I don't really like around the facility. I don't hear like much about it. I know guys are frustrated with it. Just because I mean, Major League Baseball made a record. I think it was like $10.3 billion in revenue this past year, and that the fact that owners are just holding out on on signing guys is like it's honestly not right. It's not right to the players. It's not right to the fans. That like people don't realize that yeah oh they're holding out for so much money, but yeah, but like the players are still people too. Like they still have to pay bills. They still have a family to raise. At least most of them have a family. If you're like a major league player, you probably have a family. Um, so it's not because they're greedy. It's not because anything like that. They, I mean, they want to get paid. They want to be treated right, and like the owners and everything that are just like no, we're gonna wait, we're gonna wait, we're gonna wait. That kind of like if it's frustrating for the player because he wants to be signed, he wants to get the deal done so he can provide for his family, so he can provide for himself. Like it's and people don't realize that. They just think, "Oh, he's a professional athlete. He's made a lot of money already." Yeah, sure, but he's still got to he's still got to set up a future for himself and his family. And so it's frustrating to see, and there's been a lot of turmoil lately about the strike in 2 years once the CBA is up, and honestly, like, I'm pretty sure it's gonna happen, like, that's what the word is around here at Driveline as well, that it's most likely going to happen. And therefore, I mean, this would be kind of cool. We would have the Driveline games, from what Kyle Bodie has said, where we would like broadcast our live at bats on live TV, which would be awesome during the strike. So like people can watch something baseball related. And like our atmosphere is incredible during live at bats. Like you see when Trevor, like you see the videos for our live
Mhm.
AB on YouTube, and you see like Trevor Bauer's always in them, and like it's just the atmosphere. Everyone's there. The atmosphere is incredible. Like we had like a couple weeks ago, we had the number one prospect in the nation, Forrest Whitley, in Driveline doing some live at bats against with Trevor Bauer and another Kyle Muller. Um, it was it was an incredible atmosphere because Forrest Whitley can run it up there to 100, 101. Granted, he didn't that day; he was a little tired. I think Trevor Bauer wore him out.
Yeah.
um, but like it's an incredible atmosphere, and fans like we get people always comment like, "Oh, like the way you guys do things for live at bats is so cool. The videos are awesome. Like the camera angle, it just really shows how each of the pitches break. Like fans love it,
Yeah.
and like so. Me
I,
that'd be for the strike. That would be a perfect alternative. But I mean, obviously, we don't want to strike. We want everything to be smooth. But who knows what's going to happen?
it's hard to predict, and
Yeah.
I mean, it's I would say it's easy to predict now just because of the slow free agent market,
Right.
and it has been frustrating. So I just ultimately just see this as just if it does come to fruition, a golden opportunity for guys like yourself and a bunch of others to where they can just it comes back to name recognition a little bit.
Mhm.
To where it would benefit a lot of, and that's not to say that you guys are doing that there, and that's not to say that you guys are doing that there, but it's just one of those where it furthers the name out there and it gets the name recognition, and we all know, and no matter what business you are in, name recognition is one of the top things that matters. And if you can get that, then you're going to get a lot of attention thrown at you. And speaking of attention, Nolan
Mhm.
Arenado has garnered quite the attention. Nolan Arenado, Manny Machado, and Bryce Harper have garnered quite the attention just themselves as baseball players.
They
And
really have.
they have got themselves paid this
Oh,
offseason.
yeah.
Obviously, Nolan Arenado was not a free agent yet. He was going to be in 2019. Bryce Harper was a free agent. Manny Machado was a free agent,
Yep.
and both of them signed deals over 300 million. Nolan Arenado did not, but he does have the highest average annual value.
Mhm.
That said, that said, I personally believe that Nolan Arenado is a much better player than both of them. But we all
You're
know it truly is, should I say, a little bit of it I don't know, and this is sort of the Scott Boras effect that I do believe that Scott Boras does want the best for his clients. He may say the right things. He may want to, admit the right thing, should I say, in a conversation. But as history has told us, if you have Scott Boras as your agent, he's going to try and do the best possible scenario and try and get players paid as much as possible. And really it has nothing to do with Bryce Harper. And obviously, Brooks, you and I laugh about it all the time. Um, I used to not like Bryce Harper, but it's just been one of those where I've really changed on him in the past few years. And then now, you just start looking at it, and especially to the fact, and we'll talk about Nolan here in a little bit, but
mhm.
the thing that got so gratifying for me wasn't really, say, this massive contract that he signed, because he was going to get a massive contract anyway. And Bryce Harper is a very talented player. You don't hit the market at 26 or 27 if you're Manny Machado. You don't hit that market at that particular age and expect deals of say 8 to, as Bryce Harper and Manny Machado signed, double digit years. And so I think that the thing that was so fascinating for me though was, and it honestly was a great thing, was to see Bryce Harper, at least initially, on based on this sole contract, sign a 13-year deal with the Philadelphia Phillies, and it was 330 million, but there were no opt-outs. It was a full trade clause. I
Yep.
mean, it is a full-blown commitment to the Philadelphia Phillies organization. So yes, it is an individual rival to the Washington Nationals, his past opponent, but at the
Hmm.
same time, it's a commitment to what was best for him, his family, and his future. And he felt that the Philadelphia Phillies offering him that no opt out and everything, I just thought was very, very cool to see.
Yeah, I mean, I was really surprised that no opt outs. And like you really think about it, it's like it's kind of a friendly contract for the Phillies because it's only 25 million a year. Like
Yeah.
that's, I mean, yeah, that's a lot, but at the same time, it's not 30 or 32 like Nolan and Machado are getting. Like that's actually like that like puts a like gives a lot of room for them to get even more guys. Now, I mean, a couple guys been joking like, "Hey, they're gonna sign Trout, they're gonna sign Chris Bryant." But if you really think about it, that's actually a legit possibility because of how much Trout is a big Philadelphia guy and how Chris Bryant and Bryce Harper grew up with each other and are best friends.
Yeah, and I think that what's interesting there is because Mike, and we can speculate all we want,
Oh yeah,
but I think that if you look at just the whole scenario and just with Bryce Harper, or sorry, Bryce Harper, Mike Trout, yes, Mike Trout very well might be the best player in the game. I mean, I would say he is the best player in the game.
he is.
And does he deserve a $400 million contract compared to Bryce Harper's 330? Yes.
Yes.
Now, does that put a huge question mark as far as the contract that um, would be given to say Mike Trout? I would say yes.
Yeah.
But that's not to say that because it is Philadelphia, again, the emotional tie, seeing Bryce Harper there, and no matter what, and depending on what they do, say this year and next year, because Mike Trout's a free agent in 2 years, he might take less. He very well might take less and just decide, you know what, I'm gonna go play for a winning franchise, and Chris Bryant could very well do the same thing. So
Yeah.
and Harper said himself, the stuff that I've read is that he was brought in there to be used as, say, like a LeBron, to
Yeah.
recruit players.
Yeah. I
Uh,
mean, yeah, I think the Phillies are in great shape, especially with Reese Hoskins as well.
yeah, their lineup is no joke. Now that they've got Angie McCutcheon in the offseason.
Mhm.
So even though that he's been on the latter part of his career, he's still a tremendous player.
Oh yeah.
And then they obviously went out and got JT Realmuto,
Yeah.
who's obviously, is people have argued, one of the better catchers in the game. It's it is very impressive. I'll just say that, to see that quite a season for the Philadelphia Phillies has been capped off by this. Now, contrast that, Brooks, to the San Diego Padres, and I'm not Brooks. I am not going to be talking about how great their jerseys are because it's pathetic. It's poop.
Oh my gosh, they're jerseys that are coming in 2020, the brown and yellow, that just screams "Go Busters, baby."
I can't disagree with that. Just because your best years came with the Busters, I can't I can't disagree with that. Um, but I guess I don't know. I'm still on the fence with just the Manny Machado to the San Diego Padres. In my opinion, I don't understand the fit. I don't understand Manny Machado. Now, that's not to say that I think the San Diego Padres are probably, as far as maybe one of the younger teams, one of the young and maybe say up and coming teams in the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
No,
they're
I like. I think they're going to be good, but why would Manny Machado want to go to a team, or let alone say, because compared to Bryce Harper, he went to also a perfect situation, a perfect storm to say a hitter's ballpark again. That's going to benefit himself. It's going to benefit him as a player. People wanted to people sometimes in the national media want to just dismiss this idea of him playing in Petco Park. I'm here to tell you it's a big deal. If we want to hamstrung players at Coors Field, we can do the exact same thing for players at Petco Park. And I think that while I think that Manny Machado is a tremendous player, you know, obviously I think Nolan Arenado is a much better tight end. Or a much better third baseman. I got NFL Combine in the mind. What can I say? Uh, um, but I think Petco is going to play a huge part. So we're going to see, I think, an average dip for Manny Machado because it is a pitcher's ballpark, but it'll translate on the road. But I don't know. I'm still trying to wrap my head around it, knowing the fact it's 10 years, 300 million. And for that, I understand it from the simple point that they are a young team. They have Fernando Tatis Jr., who's amazing. And then
insane.
so the future is very bright for the Padres, but that's
Hmm.
3, 4 years down the road, and they do have Hosmer. So I get it from the standpoint of that, but from just the sheer fit and him wanting to go back to something that he had with the Baltimore Orioles and what would have been with the Chicago White Sox, I just I don't know. I'm just confused as to why he wanted to go to say a team that's going to win 65 to 75, maybe 78 wins a season.
Yeah, I mean, he obviously has his reasons. I think one of the reasons it's because it's San Diego, California, and it's 75 every single day, sunny, which helps. It helps a lot instead of like being in Chicago where it's you don't know what you're gonna get. I mean, granted, during the summer it's hot, but during like April, May, 'cause it's still in September, October, it could still be freezing. Um, but yeah, I mean, I see it from a future standpoint because their farm system is loaded with talent. Like Tatis Jr. just, I think, I think he hit 120 on a line out of the ballpark the other day. It was ridiculous. Um, he's insane. Uh, but yeah, like it was very random that he did chose the Padres because no one was thinking the Padres. Everyone was thinking either the Phillies or the White Sox or the Dodgers, maybe again. Um, yeah, dude, your guess is as good as mine.
Yeah, and now I will say this because it brought us to the NL West. It also brought, I think, a lot of optimism for those mid-market teams for them to afford a guy like, say, a Manny Machado. And
Mhm.
I think that that's why. I mean, I personally think that there were ongoing conversations with Nolan Arenado to begin with. I think that from what I heard is that there were ongoing conversations last year, at least initially, as far as the contract is concerned. And then they settled on the arbitration case for 26 million. But I think that when the Padres signed Manny Machado, questionable move or not, positive move or not, a mid-market team signed Manny Machado. And I
Right.
think that, and I really do think that that put a lot of optimism, re- uh, compounded with the fact that Nolan Arenado said himself that the conversations were great. They've been respectful in the conversation. Um, he did say himself that he wanted to maybe think about and just say, what could my future be like outside of Denver? paraphrasing. But at the same time, he did retread back and said, "But I also would love to stay here in
Mhm.
Colorado." And I think that for that, just and the whole respectful nature of how the Rockies did it, yes, to play the Boris card. He didn't have Scott Boris as an agent. He did at one point, but he dropped him 4 years ago. And then obviously the point that I think that does not get talked about enough is that Mike Hampton's contract was finally off the books in December of 2018. And so I think that, if you look at it, the Padres signing Manny Machado to this massive contract, I thought was a shot to a lot of optimism again
Mhm.
with the Rockies that say, hey, we may not be, say, a mid-market team anymore, but if the Padres can do this, we can do it.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so I think that them signing Nolan Arenado was a great thing for baseball, and more importantly, it was a great thing for the Rockies. And did you have an opportunity to watch the press conference? I've not had an opportunity to watch the entire thing yet. I've just seen a few clips, but I tell you, man, you want to talk about and it's usually a hard discussion because I think everybody really does live and breathe baseball or just sports in general. But when
Mhm.
you lay your body on the line every single game, 162 games plus playoff games, and you walk into a press conference knowing the fact that you signed a long-term deal and you're excited as all get out, and then all of a sudden you see the fact that these teammates, the people that you absolutely love and you see day in and day out, come in support of you for this massive contract. I just it brings me to tears, and I know it brought Nolan to tears, but man, it was amazing. So I talked about a lot there, but what was your initial thoughts, obviously, about the press conference and obviously Nolan Arenado's contract?
I mean, it's really nice to see the Rockies that it's really nice to see the Rockies care about winning, for once, and I know in the past it's been really frustrating. Yeah, they did sign Cargo and Tula to long-term deals, but
But they were cheap in the grand scheme of
yeah,
things.
yeah, if you look at it, but, like, it used to be they never really wanted to sign guys long term. It was kind of a Colorado was kinda just known for guys going in besides Helton, of course, um, just kinda just, like, maybe spending 2, 3, 4 years and getting out. Like, it was never really a place to stay, and, I mean and it's pretty cool to see that the Rockies care about winning and they wanna build around Arenado, and they certainly have the team this year. They're gonna be good again. They'll probably still win 90 plus games. Like, it's an exciting year. Um, with the press conference, uh, that's like when you know as a player, you know, and it's obvious that Nolan Arenado knew that Colorado is the place for him,
Yeah,
and it's
yeah,
really cool to see the emotions.
yeah. I thought that part was incredibly telling, and we can't predict the future.
No, yeah,
So I mean, we don't know, say for a fact, what the future holds officially, because obviously we know in baseball and just sports in general, things can change on a dime. But I mean, Nolan Arenado came out and said that he wants to be a Rocky for life,
yeah,
and that he's here for the long haul.
yeah.
And when you see that type of comment, when you or just to see the type of tears that he has, I don't know. It's if you're a Rockies fan and you're watching that, I'm crying too because it's because it's one of those to where we have our Todd Helton again, and that's not a slam on Charlie Blackman, because I think that he's another guy that goes completely under the wings as far as being a Rocky for life, in my opinion. I mean, he fits the mold, he fits everything about that franchise, as does Nolan Arenado. So I think that Charlie Blackman's another one that I really do believe could have an opportunity to be a Rocky for life as well. So
Yeah.
but when you just get that sense just of how passionate Nolan really is about the city of Denver and in particular just the state of the Rockies, it's beautiful. Like it's not to sound cliche and just and whatnot. It's really beautiful to see the player show that much amount of emotion and the fact that he cares. I mean, he really cares about the city of Denver and the future of the Rockies. Now it's still up to the Rockies to still come through with it and to have long-standing success. And I think that the one cool part about the contract is that now I don't know if it's true or not. I haven't seen anything else except for the John Heyman tweet that I saw where he literally has opt-outs in every single year of his deal after 5 years. Like
Mhm.
I didn't understand that. Um, but um, I mean, he was the only person I saw actually say that, so I don't know if it's true or not.
Yeah,
Um,
I don't know for a fact, but it makes sense because it just like I kind of told you the other day, it kind of forces the Rockies to like, hey, we got to be good, or Nolan could just be like, yeah, see you later.
yeah, and I think regardless, the Rockies knew about that anyway because I mean, there's that opt-out after 3 years, I believe, after like
Mhm.
2022. Um, and obviously, there's players that are going to be up for contract around that point in time. I mean, Trevor Story is going to be a free agent here in a few more years. John Gray will be a free agent in a few more years. Kyle Freeland is not going to be a free agent, I would say, for probably 3-4 years, maybe, and whatnot. But it leaves them with some flexibility to the point where they don't have to be, they can still keep Nolan Arenado and still say, hey, let's look at maybe keeping guys like Trevor Story, Kyle Freeland, Herman Marquez,
Mhm.
John, maybe John Gray. All just depends on where he's at. The development from this year or from last year to this year. I just really believe that the Rockies are doing their future a favor, and as far as their window, their their competitive window, and I'm sorry to say it, their championship window, it widened
It
when they
really did.
it definitely widened with the signing of Nolan Arenado to this massive contract, and so
Mhm.
I think that it's a sign of things to come really for the Rockies, and who knows, like I said, what the future holds. But I just have this suspicion that the Rockies are going to be really good for quite some time with Nolan Arenado, and so long story short, I know I said we don't really predict the future, but I do expect Nolan Arenado to stay with the Rockies the remainder of his career. And I know that I think you and I were actually talking about it when Tulo signed,
Mhm.
but I probably felt the same way when Tulo signed. But I also wasn't looking at sports the way I am at that point in time versus now.
Right.
And so I just have this feeling that Nolan Arenado and the city and what have you, everything else that around it, he he very well might be. And I know that Todd Helton and Larry Walker, especially Larry Walker, had a little bit of a resurgence this last year with the Hall of Fame, but I'm I would not be surprised if Nolan Arenado is going to be, say, the first Colorado Rockies player to go into the Hall of Fame. And I know that sounds crazy because I know that Larry Walker had quite the resurgence.
Yeah, dude, Larry Walker, he really did. Like
Yeah.
people were like, look at this guy. Like you'd see tweets of, excuse me, you'd see tweets about these just ridiculous stats. Like he's done this, this, and this, and the only other players that have done this is Babe Ruth and Ken Griffey Jr. And you're like, what?
Yeah. Yeah. And so I mean, And I only say that just because of the Rockies narrative, because we have yet to see a Rocky go in the Hall of Fame.
Coors.
Right, Coors. Yeah, lowercase Coors.
Yeah.
I just really do think that I think ultimately this surge will help Larry Walker say next year. And do I think he gets in? I think there's a very good chance. Um, but again, I just don't know. And with Helton, I think say if Larry Walker goes in, it's definitely going to help out Helton's chances, in my opinion.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so and who knows, obviously, what the future holds for Nolan Arenado, but Nolan Arenado very well might be a much better player than Larry Walker. And especially when you have guys like Mike Schmidt coming out and saying that Nolan Arenado is the best third baseman in the history of baseball.
Yeah.
You don't need a bigger mic drop than that
No.
when you have arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, third baseman of all time, saying that Nolan Arenado is the best third baseman of all time. I mean,
Yeah.
you don't win six straight Gold Gloves by accident. You don't win a platinum gold or platinum glove by accident. You don't go to the playoffs two straight years. I mean, the guy is absolutely incredible. And yes, there's a guy over in Oakland who came from the same high school as Nolan Arenado, who is nipping at his heels right now with the Oakland Athletics and Matt Chapman.
He's pretty good too.
But I'm still picking Nolan Arenado
Um,
as my third baseman. Um, yeah, it's just I just really am very pleased that the Rockies were able to come to a deal, and they that they were not hamstrung by anybody else. So I'm sure that there were a lot of influence from other teams, like we were saying with the San Diego Padres signing Manny Machado,
mhm.
but also they weren't hamstrung with this idea that, oh man, DJ LeMahieu goes to the Yankees, Troy Tulowitzki goes to the Yankees, Adam Ottavino goes to the Yankees, and
Yeah.
Nolan Arenado and DJ LeMahieu are really good friends. So there's this possibility that we might lose Nolan Arenado to the New York Yankees, and that might be in the back of their mind. Let's just say, if we're being human.
Yeah.
But it was really good to see them be retroactive and proactive and get Nolan Arenado done. And so I think that yes, the Yankees were in the back of their mind, but they weren't really hamstrung by all of that. Just to say,
But
you know, okay, we really do need to get this Nolan Arenado contract done.
yeah. I think Nolan was probably looking at the free agent market and was just thinking, man, I really don't want to go through that.
You know what? It is absolutely incredible that you bring that up, because that is something that I have been wanting to talk about as far as maybe the biggest point why Nolan Arenado signed his contract.
Yeah.
And it brings it back to the MLB free agency. Um, and in all honesty, Brooks, I very much wonder if we will see a lot of players. I don't know if Anthony Rendon will be one, or a bunch of other players that are going to be in free agency in 2019 or after this 2019 season. But I do think that this could force a lot of players to stay with their team for the rest of their career.
I could see it. I mean, at least a 3 to 4 year deal, at least.
Yeah.
There was extensions. Um, I could see a number of players doing that. Yeah, because why would you want to deal with this free agent market right now? It's tough. Like teams aren't biting on like I saw like a player. I think I saw a tweet. It was like I can't remember the player, but it was like yeah, I was on the free agent market, but I had 10 teams interested in me right after the season was over, but I didn't sign until like February. It's like what? Like you should be like as like if you're a wanted player and you have 10 teams wanting to sign you right after the World Series, it should be like they should be like giving you their offers and you should be making the decision within at least a month,
Right.
not February, March.
So
And
yeah, I think that one of the interesting points with it too is I think it was Peter Moylan who did a tweet that said that what is it? There's something along the lines that I'm still unsigned, you know,
so, yeah.
and again, it's been very disappointing to see just how slow the free agent market really is, and I would not be surprised. And this could probably stop the strike. I mean, this probably could
Hmm.
if they put a deadline. If they put like a second trade deadline, so to speak, or a second deadline for the winter meetings, and they probably have a soft deadline.
Hmm.
But I would not be surprised if they put a deadline at the end of the winter meetings and just said, "Okay, guys, you guys have to, or you guys don't have to, but you guys have to come to some sort of agreement with players and whatnot by this particular date at the end of December or first month of January, first week of January. You guys have to try your hardest to come to agreement with teams because that's basically what the winter meetings were about. I mean, that's there that aside from say the first day of NFL free agency or the NBA trade deadline, the winter meetings were the longest period where there was a lot of action, a lot of moves, a lot of deals being made.
Right.
I don't know, but I would not be surprised if there are at least some. I just would not be surprised if there are at least some sort of conversations that say, "Hey, a deadline should be done."
Yeah, I feel like that's definitely gonna come up in the next CBA for sure. Like, that's gonna be a big topic, at least something along the lines of that with free agency because it really is. Like, we shouldn't have to wait this long for Bryce Harper or Manny Machado to be signed. Like, sorry, it's it should not take this long.
And again, I mean, I think some of it is the agent,
Yeah.
just because. So for that, I mean, if I was a baseball player, I probably wouldn't want to sign with Scott Boras, just because I don't know, I just personally feel like he wants to. He may say those things, but I just don't think at all like he. I don't know. He always wants the best contract for his player, like the best and highest contract for his player,
Yeah.
which is win and which is sort of a win and also not a win because it really hamstrings a team to the point where, well, should we really spend this amount of money on a guy that, I mean, and again, I mean, it's not a knack on Harper, but Nolan Arenado is a much better player. So should we be spending this amount of money, say, or coming to this amount of years for a guy that we all thought that isn't, say, a better player than Nolan? So I think the agent is a part of it,
Mhm.
but at the same time, it's between the owners, it's everything else, and it's just I don't know, it's just a fascinating thing for me, and I do believe that that could, I don't know if it'll end the strike, say, or the CBA in 2022, but it would be a good development and maybe a good step in the right direction if they did put a deadline for that, because I do think that the slow free agency will play a huge part in a potential strike, like you were talking about earlier in 2022.
Yeah. I don't know everything about what the players were thinking. I just heard some things here and there. So, but yeah.
Yeah, yeah. So I can see it. I can definitely see it. But Brooks, man, I know that you're getting ready to head out there here in a little bit. But thank you very much, man, for hopping on and talking baseball for almost about an hour. It was a good change of pace. I know the NFL Combine is going on, and I entrench myself so much with football lately, but you
What's
know,
football?
I right, what is football?
What is
I
football?
I I was in a little bit of just a a discussion with my predominantly orange people, and I was just saying, baseball's greater than football. I'm sorry, baseball's greater than football. Like it's just how I was raised. Like I love baseball more than I love football. I'm more entrenched with football, and I absolutely love covering it. But and if you're asking me, I absolutely love the game of baseball. I love the intricacy of it. I love the what should we say, the chess game of it. And so no, I do not want the National League to come to an agreement to say that, hey, we should get a DH. That's just my opinion. I love the chess game of it. And that's not to say a chess game would probably be there with the DH on the National League, but I mean,
Mhm.
hey, I just really love the chess match that is with between two managers, and the shifts, and scouting certain players on maybe not a shift, but moving, say, a second baseman over a little bit more because a guy pulls, or because a guy hits the other way, or same thing for a shortstop. It's just, I absolutely love how just managers go about their business. And so I would not be, uh, you won't be hard pressed to try and convince me that football is better than baseball.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's you can't convince me either.
Yeah. So Well, Brooks, man, I know that you're getting ready to head out here in 20 minutes, but as always, man, thank you very much for hopping on as always, and we'll hang out here soon when you come back here to the states. And as
I'm in the States.
you what? Sorry, in Colorado when you are.
There you go.
Jeez, Brooks. Jeez.
Seattle. I know Seattle's close to Canada, but it's still in the States.
Look, okay, fine. Okay, Seattle is in the states. I will see you when you come back to Colorado.
I really need some Tim Hortons right now.
Hey man, keep raking down there at Driveline, and I really do love the work that Driveline's putting work doing work down there. So it's just a really fun. Personally, it's a really fun facility, and if you guys don't know anything about Driveline, please check out Driveline over on their Twitter handle. And Brooks, what is their Twitter handle?
Um, their Twitter handle is just Driveline BB or at Driveline BB. Or if you want to follow the owner, Kyle Bodie, it's Driveline Bases. Or Jason Ochart at Jason Ochart. But he's the hitting coordinator. So you can find all Driveline stuff there.
It is definitely a very fascinating. It's a fascinating company. It's a fascinating player development center, and I am 100% on board with Driveline. For Brooks Benson, for Cameron Parker, this is another edition of the Cameron Parker